So I just need to get to the relevant slide. Oh, I am gonna.
Use the sorter.
Yeah, I think
Because
part of the issue is that that presentation is so large, it has been tending to
take long.
freeze my screen. So I'm just going to go
Okay.
ahead. I've copied it over to.
Okay. Yeah, I've experienced that as well.
So our next presenter, Mr. Gavin Henrik, I met quite a number of years ago now at a workshop that I attended back in COVID time for Brickfield Education Labs. Um, Mr. Henrik is the CEO and co-founder of Brickfield Education Labs. He's an experienced education technology consultant with over 15 years experience delivering education solutions with a focus around online and blended learning technologies such as Moodle. Gavin has delivered workshops and presented at conferences around the world on a range of learning topics with a special interest in data privacy, accessibility, and learning analytics. Brickfield Education Labs makes online teaching and training more cost efficient, effective, and standards compliant. It builds products that enhance the management of the Moodle VLE, virtual learning environment, in higher education, government, and corporate sectors. The initial focus is on ensuring that content created and stored is compliant with industry best practices and national regulations regarding accessibility. And as I said, I was first introduced to Gavin many, many years ago, was thrilled by some of the products that Brickfield uh, produces, and have been trying to onboard their programs with our Moodle platform. Back in fall 2025, we were at the doorstep of trial running one of their tools that he's going to explain today, but realized that our system was so outdated that their new accessibility tool wouldn't work with our system. So we're going through the Moodle upgrade. You should have seen the information about that from the Department of Communications. So as of this semester, we will be transitioning to the new Moodle platform, which is compliant with Brickfield's tools. And all those of you who signed up for the trial run will be able to run that this semester and hopefully integrate the tool before the end of spring 2026. He's joined by Kara Conger. I wasn't aware that she was going to be joining us, so I haven't prepared a formal introduction, but I've actually known Kara for many years, not necessarily through Brickfield, but through other professional relationships that we've had. Kara's an educational technology consultant that helps startups with logistics, program management, growth, sales, everything that needs to be done to make startups in education technology successful. She's worked with eThink, OpenLMS, which is our current Moodle provider, and now Brickfield. So it was really a pleasant surprise for me to see when I was on a call with Brickfield. I said, I recognize that person, only to find out that it was indeed Cara who is now working with Brickfield. So I'd like to say welcome and Happy New Year to both of you, and I'll turn the floor over to Gavin.
Hello there. Thank you very much for that introduction. And yes, I've been around for quite a while now. I've worked in the Moodle space for nearly 20 years and delivering education technology solutions and working in course design and accessibility for most of that time. So today the plan is I'm going to do a general presentation on accessibility, and it's going to be a bit of a blitz through it. it's about wakening up your eyes to content and what makes accessible content, what makes content inaccessible, which is possibly, again, the kind of things you've been listening to. I know the University of Leeds do some awesome work there. So I imagine their presentation covered some really cool, useful tips and approaches. So the stuff, I'm going to do a presentation. I'm going to show you the toolkit and just one or two other things as well, which we can go through. One of the things which we're not really covering in the session per se, I will then drop in some links at the end of it where you can do some self-assessment on your own, what's the best way to put it, your own sort of accessibility behaviors or your own skills. And that can be a useful process. But before that, I will start this presentation and share my screen. Oh, and if you have any questions, ask them in chat as we go. Cara will stop me if she thinks I need to deal with them straight away. Otherwise, I'll try and deal with them at the end. Let's swap that around. Okay. And I'm assuming everyone knows that within Zoom, you can use your own captions and stuff. So I won't go through that aspect here. Screen share. Okay. So this is just going through some of the sort of fundamentals from my perspective of what is important when I'm thinking about content. And this is something that came from the States, but it's replicated pretty much everywhere, that it's about having an equality and about making that everyone can engage with content in the same way. And in this case, it goes through that a person with a disability can do stuff the same as a person without a disability, essentially. And in this case, they talk about acquiring information. So it's not just a subset, it's the same information. Engaging in the interactions. If I ask you to ask a question, yes, you can type in something, or you can put up your hand, and if you want to, maybe we can put it on to audio, or you can email me and I'll drop my email in. So whether you need time to think about it or whether you don't want to ask it publicly, we give you different options to engage. And enjoying the same services, obviously. So if you're going through this presentation, you're able to access the captions, you're able to listen to me or see the screen, and I will describe what's on the screen if I'm not using the text on it and going through it and more. And then in an equally effective, equally integrated manner. That's a really powerful statement. And that's where you want to go. That's our target. Equally effective, equally integrated. But the last part is a nice piece, a substantially equivalent ease of use. So it shouldn't take massive effort to achieve the same. Where it's possible with technology and with good course and content design to do that heavy lifting for people. And it's about, so that's what it's really about. That's the goal. Now, one of the things I am going to drop into chat after this is a link to a self-assessment. This is a skills framework where we break up the type of accessibility skills you need for content into 6 areas related to images, media, tables, links, text, and layout. The reason for that is accessibility, yes, it's somewhat technical, yes, it's legal, but it's actually about doing content better. And so this breaks down the different type of skills you might need. And in the self-assessment, it just looks at these 18 tips here in broken down into those 6 areas. And you can go and have a look into detail. I'm not going to go through the 18 here, but it's all about images, media, tables, links, text, and layout. So the legislative landscape is changing. Students' expectations are changing. Institutions' requirements are changing. Everything is starting to move towards where people are just going, yeah, we just need to do this. And when something just works and makes it content available for people, that's where you want to go to. And so let's have a look at, well, what is disability? So when you think about disability, people might often think of a medical definition. Well, this is more of a social definition where, and it comes from the book from Sarah Horton and Whitney Quisenberry, A Web for Everyone, excellent book if you haven't read it. And it's about it's a disability, the conflict between the world and people's functional capabilities. If you build steps for a building, you're stopping people who need wheels and can't go up steps or can't do it easily. Maybe someone's unsteady on their feet. They're pushing a buggy, they're in a wheelchair, they're pushing a heavy load or pulling a heavy load for a delivery. All of these people, those steps are a barrier. They are something put in the way by a design choice rather than having a ramp or having the door at ground level. That is a conflict by design. So ability plus a barrier then manifests or creates that disability. So if you remove the barriers, the equation changes because it doesn't matter then about durability if you've taken into account that you're not creating these barriers. So where you are now, all of you will be at a different starting point of what accessibility knowledge you have and what you do. Because you might know this stuff, but you haven't started doing it yet. Maybe you haven't got the technology to do it easily yet. However, where you are now to where the institution wants to go, that's a journey, and everyone's on an individual journey. Maybe in different departments you're on journeys, and as an institution you're on one. But you need all to be going to the same place. And this kind of presentation is really about getting all of your heads pointed in the same direction. So you're going to the same target destination and understand what content barriers are and then why you shouldn't be including them. And one of the interesting things about disability and accessibility is this concept of a curb cut effect. So when I was in Helsinki last year for a conference, this was the curb cut when people were having a pedestrian crossing on a road. So you've got the footpath on the left, you've the road on the right, and you have this cut in the curb along the edge to make it easy for people to go from one level to another. And this type of concept was originally created in the States for helping to increase the employability of veterans with disabilities who either couldn't take that very big step up. The American curbs are huge, not like this one. Or if they needed to be using a wheelchair or whatever type of machinery they were using. That is what the curb cut is. But now it's global. It's at every pedestrian crossing pretty much everywhere in the world. They're all slightly different. Some have little bubbles on them, so people with who are walking on them can feel that the footpath is different, even with their feet, and if they're using a stick in that regard. But it's global. In Barcelona, here is a version of it. It's a slightly longer one. So at the front, we have the road, and at the other side, in the middle, we have where the footpath is. And so it's a more gentle slope because it's a slightly higher curb, so it's longer. And it's right beside lights as well. So they've got lights and curb cut put in together. But you have other things that follow this philosophy, where you had captions originally created so the deaf and the hard of hearing could watch television. Now you'll see them in sports bars, very noisy, can't hear anyone talk, never mind shout. And the TV is up there and they'll have their captions on so that everyone can hear because there's an audio barrier for everybody. Or you'll have speech to text or text to speech. And in here, this is a screenshot of a translation app or transcription app, within a mobile where someone is saying something in English, it types it out and translates it into Finnish so that then that can be spoken out so someone can hear it. So you can have a conversation back and forth with this translation. Again, originally, speech to text was created for people who could not type, could not write. So dictating messages, taking notes, writing books, reports, controlling computers, there's loads of stuff it's used for now. It's gone. That's where the curb cut effect is, where something's done and created and invented to tackle the barrier that might be in place and to remove it, and then it suddenly becomes used by everybody. And if you would like to, you can throw in any other examples of this curb cut effect. You can just type it into chat if you know any. So we're talking about breaking down barriers. And one of them is, let's have a look at alignment and testing alignment. So here we go. This is text being aligned. Now, on the front page of your website, your standard website, there's a part in the middle of which have short paragraphs, all centered aligned. I think it's actually an image, not even text. But this is the way people often will put something to make it look pretty. Problem is, it's slower for everybody to read. But it's extra difficult, as in very difficult, for people with dyslexia to read. And the reason for that is it basically keeps changing the beginning of the line. You're moving in and out. And it might be that while they're focusing, because they read often with the shape of the word, not the spelling, they might miss the part and go from necessary to development. And then when they see it there, they might go back, and it causes what they call reading hiccups. Right-aligned text has this even worse. And you'll see right-aligned text throughout websites as well and with content. And people think it's cool. And now, this is different to right to left. This is right-aligned text. And again, it just makes this even bigger, a bigger issue. So it slows everyone down and it interrupts that. Another one is from paper. People often have done text justifying. So it's tight on the left and the right. Problem is here, it's creating these gaps. So the space between words aren't the same. So it makes it harder to follow reading. Compared to just left alignment, which is easier for everybody to read, and especially those who have dyslexia. But just think about when in your content, looking at your content, be it slides, be it your website, when you look at these sort of things, once, even just these 4 or 5 slides I've shown you, your life will change. You will never see a poster again or PowerPoint again without going, wow, that's centered line. That it just jumps out, and that it's slower to read. And if you're going through a presentation and want people to read something, you want it to be done quickly. Or if you have a poster with some information, you want it to be done quickly. So you don't want to be slowing people down. Consistent, predictable layout. The first rule of Accessibility Club is you do talk about the club, but the second rule is consistent, predictable layout. If the layout isn't consistent and predictable every single time they go to a new section or a page or a resource, they're having to relearn how to navigate every single time. And with no consistency at all, it can become a real problem and a huge time waster and really build frustration. And I don't know, have you seen the film Forrest Gump? In it, he's sitting on a bench talking to this woman, and he mentions his mother, that his mother spoke about life being a box of chocolates. You never quite know what you're going to get. But with your course content, your students want orange cream chocolates, orange cream chocolates. They don't want all the flavors, every single course being different. They want consistency and templates. Remember that University of Leeds, I think they had mentioned a bit about templates. Templates, great thing. Orange cream templates for everybody. No other chocolates. And in our courses that we give access to our clients, we show how that consistency just makes it easier to navigate content. If it's always going to be the same, you just know where to go. You build this rhythm rather than reinventing your navigation mentality every single page. It just isn't a good idea. But layout isn't just of content, it's content itself. Now here we talked about layout already, about centered, left, right, justified. Here, it's also about having good headings and bullet points for the same content. Short paragraph with just a few sentences of information, but a structured piece of content just makes it so much easier for everyone to read, especially those using assistive technology or who want to go back and just get, what was that key part in again? Having important notes, spell check, add a script to the notes, name the file, where they're there, but they're in the last sentence of a paragraph that nobody ever gets to. as you will have got at this stage, I often drop in film references. So I usually say the good, the bad, and the ugly, but most web pages nowadays are just the bad and the ugly. They have links like click here, which means you don't know where it is unless you read the stuff before it or afterwards, or go there to find where there is, so you can decide if you want to click here to go there. That's not very useful. And same with the long URL. Even if you can visibly see this, this is not helpful. But if you are using assistive technology, getting a list of links, it will go link 1, click here, link 2, https://form/d/e/1FAIPQLSEYUEWNQVT. I'll stop there. But you get the idea. Whether you can see it or whether you have to listen to it, this is not useful. A link should say what it is, what you're going to do there. So the link here has the word, like we publish our amazing, wonderful newsletter, is in a color, it's underlined to show it's a link, because a link should look like a link. But it says, when I select that, I know I'm going to the newsletter. And down at the bottom, I know that subscribe to our newsletter, that's the other link, that's what I'll be doing when I go there. So it's either a call to action of what I'm going to do there or what I'm going to find there. A link should say where it's going. Otherwise, it's just not so helpful. And similar to a link is a file name. Have a look in your download folder. Does it look like this? And what I mean by that is, here's a list of file names like myslides4.pdf, powerpoint2.pdf, slidesweek4.pdf, slides1.pdf, etc. This doesn't really say very much, but how many times are files put into your learning management system or shared with learners which have this level of clarity? Now, you don't have to self-confess here at all, but if you want to, does anyone follow this kind of naming convention or any naming convention where file names are always named to be meaningful and help you know what they are as well as everybody else? Because it's not just for them, it's for you as well. So in this case, we have a date and then the name of the slides, or a date and caption training, or accessibility, so name of the course, and then introduction presentation slides.pdf. So the file name is meaningful and understandable. This is all about accessibility as well, because this is a link. So if we go back and have a look at this one, to find out which one you want to be looking at now, you'd have to preview or go into each one to find out, is it the right one? Can you imagine walking into a library and having to pick up a book, which on the outside of it just said book, and opening the first 1 or 2 pages and reading it to see if it was the book you were looking for? In a library of 10 or 20,000 books, that's going to be slow. But that's what you're forcing people to do. You're literally wasting their time. And as Steve Krug says, there's a number of different key points that he makes, but don't waste my time is a big thing for a user. Don't get in my way and don't make me think. Don't just let me do. And so this is really important. So if anyone here always follows really good naming conventions, say so in chat. That's awesome, because if you do, that means you're a unicorn. Okay? Because it's not very often that I'll find someone who does that. Oh, Charnel's guilty. Anyone else? Go on. This is a bit like sort of going to confession with the church. You can also are where you can just admit your accessibility sins here. Everyone will forget. There's no recording. Oops, there is a recording. Maybe don't. So another one of the areas is around media, videos, audio, like this session here. You've got captions, but you also have a transcript. And why is that important? So like this, here's a guy holding his hands behind his ears, trying to eagerly to listen, because there might be many reasons that you can't hear. So for example, you might be using that video or media in a quiet library. And I know students being in a library studying, that never happens, surely. But if they are, you want them being able to go through that video content, but without the sound on. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a quiet library. I know when I was in university anyway, if I'd been playing music or watching a video and with the audio on, I'd have been kicked out of that library rather promptly. Politely, but promptly. But equally, it could be in a noisy place, like in the cafe, where I can't even hear anything else, or on a bus. And we all know there are people out there who put their audio on and listen to it on their phone while they're in a crowded space. Really rude and just irritates everyone around them. But if there's no captions on it and they need to access it, it's a bit of a, well, they need to, there should be captions. There should be a transcript available. And for a transcript, you need to be able to have a printed version. Have you ever tried printing a video? Now, it's a bit weird to even think of it, and I know it's a ludicrous concept. But if you only have captions on the video, you'd have to take a still of every video to be able to then print it all out to have all the words. So having a transcript, which is all the words just by itself in a document that you can print, means that I can annotate it. Because the benefits of captions and transcripts are really important, wide ranging. It's that curb cut effect. So whether the people are deaf or hard of hearing, cognitive learning, focus disabilities, they've got situational barriers, loud or quiet environments, or people who are less fluent in the audio and learning in that second language, or even just within Moodle or your LMS, being able to find the content with the search, the global search. Because if it's just a video, Moodle doesn't index it. You put the video and put the transcript under it, under the video, now it can index the transcript. So the videos are invisible to global search unless you have a transcript. Bet you didn't know that. So another one is then around, I want you to think, do you provide captions and transcripts or just one or the other? Another area is looking at color and whether you're using color alone. In the top row here, I've got 2 words in red, then the next row down 2 in green, then a purple, a blue, and the idea here is if someone is red colorblind, those red and greens are very similar and the blues and purples are very similar, so it doesn't stand out as much. And here's the thing, when you use color, it's about using color alone for meaning, because the challenge is, if when people print it, and if you just want to type into chat as well, you hear prints in color when they print onto paper, just like for a document or whatever. Do you print in color? I don't know anyone who prints in color. But everyone prints in black and white. So if your meaning and the color change you have isn't obvious when you print in black and white, well, emphasize differently. Inverted commas around it, something, brackets around it. Highlight it in a different way. But also color is about the contrast when you're looking at it. As you'll have noticed, sometimes I'm using dark on white. Sometimes for emphasis, I'm using a whiter background. But here, for example, I have sepia background, which is a nice off-white color. Or here I have a green, a celadon background. Probably the only time you'll ever come across the word celadon. I haven't heard of it before, but hey, I like the color. It's nice. Purple and white. Isn't that lovely? Don't you love purple? Most people don't like this one at all. And then you've got like white and black. And white and black is the hardest on your eyes. So usually having a slightly off-white color like sepia as the background, if you're having a light background, is a good thing. Or going with something like a dark blue or a navy with a white text on it. And another one then is capital letters. You know, when people who have dyslexia are learning how to read, they learn the shapes of the words, but so do we all to some extent, because you can print out pages, and there's loads of them online, where every word is a misspelling on a whole A4 page. But because it hasn't changed the shape of the word, you're still able to read them, and your brain just is also correcting as it goes, basically. And because the shape of the word hasn't changed. So changing like an E, letter E to an O, or something like that. The word shape hasn't really changed. And in here, making them all capital letters makes them all rectangles. So it is basically a rectangle around it. So it's much easier to be able to, it's not as easy to be able to read. Change it into sentence case, suddenly so much easier to read. There's more space between the words have shapes. Everyone, it's faster. People with dyslexia really struggle with this. Massively slow for them to be able to read this. Not a good experience. But it's about 10 to 15% for everyone slower as caps. For sentence case, so much easier for everyone. But now go look through your content, and how much of your content have you put all caps? Even just 4 or 5 words, still slower for everyone to read. Or a sentence, slower for everyone to read. Or a paragraph. But people just do it. They thought it was the right thing to do. It's not. And then your choice of different fonts and how you use them. You should be, with digital materials, you should be using a sans serif. I went to a presentation there recently, and on one slide, it was a bit like this. They had 4 or 5 different font styles, but most of it was like this one at the bottom here called Lucida 32. It looked a bit like handwriting, and that's just not really easy for anyone to read. It was terrible. And from a distance, it was awful being able to read it. It really was. Also, in accessibility, it's about content. And in this case, this is a box of mints falling out, a huge amount of mints falling out of an open cardboard box. And this is what most Moodle courses look like. Well, most LMS courses. It's just like PDFs falling out of the course like that. But students don't just want one flavor of content. They want one layout course, but they want to be able to choose different suites. They want to have different types of content. The green and white stripes, the orange, the yellows, the reds, the hockey stick that's red and blue. Looks a bit weird, not sure I'd eat it. But what that is representing is they might need audio formats, or they might need a EPUB format, or they might need a Braille format. In the bottom left corner here is a laptop with a Braille device attached to it. Or they might need to use something like immersive reader and assistive technology. So they need to be able to decide what format they need when. That's not a teacher that says you need to make sure your platform offers all the formats or in one format that they can easily change. So docx, they can really change to anything. HTML file, they can really change to anything. But a locks down PDF is really the wrong direction. If you're going on a journey, that means you've taken a left turn and are going in the wrong way. So double back and go back towards your destination again.
Excuse me, Mr. Henrik. I was just wondering if you could real quick, when you were talking about sans serif, could you go back to that screen and kind of explain what you mean by sans serif?
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so the persons
really
could,
good.
yeah.
Okay. So if you look here at the Times New Roman, you'll see the little squiggle at the end here, or at the bottom of the N, or at the little end of the S. You can see it here maybe. Or that there is like a cool swish. It's a style. It's a serif. And sans serif literally means without the little cool bit. Like the V here. There's no extra little cool bit on it, or on the E, or on the R at the end of them. Where in the I's and the E's and each one of these, they've got the little extra little bits. So does that, sorry.
Yes, it does, because I think, and I could be wrong, but sometimes I think by default Times New Roman comes up when you're in Microsoft Word, but that's not necessarily sans serif.
Yeah, no, it's not. And
Yeah.
actually, the standard nowadays is not. If I go into Word here, hold on, let's bring it up now. The standard nowadays in Microsoft is a thing called Aptos.
Okay. Right,
So
right. I think I've seen that right. And that's sans serif?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So you can see there that there's no little squiggly bits. Where
Right.
if I was to take that and make it into, and there are loads of them. I mean, hey, look at that one. It's got
Yeah.
some little bits, not so bad,
No.
but then you've got lots of squiggly bits there.
Right.
But I will go into Times New Roman here, and you can see that they're styled rather than consistent.
Yeah. So we would want to be encouraged to use, especially when using documentation, if we wanted to be accessible to use sans serif font
Yeah.
with our documentation, with our website,
Yeah.
any type.
So like
type. Okay.
Verdana
Right.
or Aptos or any of those ones usually. There's quite a few. There's Open Sans as well. Let's see, does it have Open Sans here? There it is. So it's very similar, but again, it's just, but yes, good
Thank
point.
you. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Anyone got any questions before I start doing a demo and stuff? Anyone here disagree with any of that? Feel free to, you know.
Okay, there's nothing in at this time.
Yeah.
I have a
That's what.
question, if I may.
Go for it.
Yes, please. You speak of avoiding the little squigglies, and it's quite artistic, if I can find the word artistic. I mean, who determines what's artistic? My question is, what is art for someone with a disability?
Well, you see, it's not about just someone with a disability. So sans serif and serif, just on
Mhm.
digital devices, the sans serif part is easier for everyone to read.
All right. So
It's
my question is,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's it's so art must be subject to the readability.
Well, again, that's something that, hey, I mean, I see some art that I don't understand at all, but it's just visual
I agree.
paintings, whatever.
Yes.
And
I
if I
do.
was to, if so, when you create that, if you want to
Yes.
create art and make it available to everyone, including who
Yes.
doesn't understand it,
Yes.
often with really abstract art, beside it, you will usually have a description
Yes.
in text going, you
Yes.
know, the artist here is playing with the interchangeability of purple and blue in his dreams or whatever it might be.
Absolutely.
So you're explaining what art is. So you have an accessible version of, although let's be honest, some of Dali's and some of the abstract art out there is beyond
Yes.
explanation. But having an
I
accessible
agree.
version. So there's a golden rule.
Yes.
If you have something that is a
Yes.
non-text, non-accessible
Yes.
text piece of content,
Mhm.
whatever it is, have an accessible text version. So if you have an image
Absolutely.
which is super cool and
Yes.
groovy and lovely design and whatever,
Yes.
then have a proper
Yes.
accessible version as well.
I thank you.
That's
I
all.
thank you.
And if you want to, you can just you can talk as I said, like with an abstract just color picture. You could, so this picture is showing reds, purples, and blues intermixing between them as the waves and the sand on the beach or whatever. Sorry, I'm getting into poetic something or other. I'm quite sure that someone will be able to come up with something that's a good example. But non-text item, create a text item. Full stop. That's a minimum. So, but yeah, I haven't had that question asked to me before. So we'll keep that for our FAQs. Anybody else got a question? But if not, I will say that it is an interesting one because people go, but I want my site to look good. Yes, you do want your course to look good, but it being usable is first. You can still make it look good. You just use sans serif rather than serif. That doesn't make it look bad. You can still use color, but the colors should be of a good contrast and not be overpowered. If you have an animated video or something, you should have a text version of it for those who can't look at it or can't follow it. If you have a video presentation of the person going, hey, my name's Gavin and welcome to my course. I'm talking today about art interpretation through interpretive dance. You still probably want to have a text version of whatever I'm going to say or dance for you. For everybody to understand, because cognitively, someone with or without a disability might not understand my dancing. Well, actually, I don't understand my dancing, so there you go. I wouldn't go there. Sorry for making you cry there. Okay, let's go and have a look at the toolkit. So what we have is a toolkit that sits inside of Moodle to help find some of these HTML issues that you might create and you might be generating in courses. So let's go and have a look at that. So I'm going to show you two aspects here. One, from the student, what's the student getting to see, and what are their options, and then what's the staff options. So one of the options for students is the most use of software on a computer or a phone nowadays is the browser, generally. Not always. Sometimes they use specialist apps, but generally the browser. When was the last time you took a training course on your browser? Anybody? Has anyone ever taken a training course for your browser, like on Chrome or Firefox or Safari? Don't see anybody typing in there. Well, thing is, they're very powerful. So what we have here is we have a digital skills guide to encourage students to learn. And it's not it's not set up as a training course, but it does prompt them that maybe they want to have the page read to them. Maybe they're walking along and they don't want to be looking at their phone. Walking along looking at a book or your phone in your hand while you're walking on the street is not a very safe thing to do. I've ran into many a lamppost doing that when I used to be learning chess and reading from books. It's not a good idea. I used to fall over small people, well, not bump into them perhaps, or dogs and stuff as well. Not a good thing. So this here, having the page read to me instead, would be a safer way of listening to the content, or changing text sizes, or having dark mode. And this gives them guidance depending on what device they're using, operating system, and browser they're using. It supports Windows, Android, Mac OS, iOS for iPhones, and Linux. It also has some, again, not a training course, but some guidance on how to create accessible documents and presentations. And this is for students, also for teachers, but for students, so that they can learn about how to get the most out of content with their browser. And rather than having one of those terrible widgets that does all of this sort of stuff and usually cause problems for people with accessibility, this teaches them how to do it so it's available to them on every website. As long as they're using the browser, they'll be able to go in, and if they're using Edge, they'll be able to know how to have the page read to them. They can just select it, right click, and open it up into Immersive Reader and be able to do stuff to it. So this is just teaching them how to do it. So that's one thing. Digital skills for learners, really important. The second aspect then is that when you have content, in this case, be it a web page or a PDF or a book that has content built into it. So absolutely, this is important for everyone. Everyone should be digital. No one should be leaving school at 18 or 17 without knowing how to use the basic technology. And the browser is the most basic. And definitely university. People should know how to use the browser well. So here you've got PDFs, books, Word documents, and so on. Well, this allows the student to go, actually, I want an audio version of that, and I want it really slow because I'm learning in a second language, so I want to listen to it more slowly, or I have a learning disability, so I want to listen to it slowly. Or maybe they want it as a Braille file, or maybe they want it as a text file and they want docx, or even just convert that PDF to HTML so they can read it with whatever technology they want. It's giving students the choice. This is basically you giving them one suite and then being able to magically turn it into any suite that they want. So it's not a mint anymore. They've turned it into an orange cream chocolate. So that is the content conversion. And it's the students doing this for themselves. You make that content very accessible, then the stuff that they create will be really high quality. So that's the two students aspects. And obviously both of those can be used by staff as well. Over here on the right, you've got a block which basically has the results from the analysis that we did on this course. And every time an edit is made, it will update. So in this case here, it shows 6 different types. Remember that image layout and so on? It has those down the left, how many errors, and then it has a bit of a guide on how to do this well. It's about doing content well. Remember that? It's not about learning a whole new language of creating content. It's about doing it better than what you've been doing now. So like whether it's using sharp, clear, good resolution images and not really blocky ones or fuzzy ones. So you've got those down here at the bottom. Then you have a link. This will take you off to our training courses on accessibility. which all of the staff get access to. And then this one here takes you to the back end to start fixing things. And this lists all the checks that we've done where we found errors in this course. And so, for example, a header needs to have text, or a link should be descriptive and provide context about its destination. Remember those ones? So if you don't know what that check is about and why, then we have these short descriptions to explain why they're important. Just a little tidbit so you don't get overwhelmed with content. And then over on the right, for most of them, so about 80% of the mistakes that you might have been making, or content errors that you inherited. In here, then it goes. Sorry, just one sec. I've got some audio appearing in the background. One of the errors that in the content is autoplay videos. Never a good thing. So here, someone has put in a URL, and we go off with and we get the name of the website. So we will also fix it to something that actually says where it's going. Here's a link going to a Wikipedia page, and it says Roman Forum Wikipedia. This one, it could not be obtained. It couldn't find it because of that particular link wherever it was going. It just couldn't find any name. Couldn't find it from that one as well. And this one as well, it's just picking up example domain and so on. So some of them it's able to find, but if they're just linking to nonsense, they can't. And so, yeah, and then at the bottom, you just submit. Now, any of these where it says the link couldn't be obtained, you might go, okay, this was a generic link test example only. So you can edit them. So, and like back up here, if you wanted for the one for the Roman Forum, you can do Roman Forum overview on Wikipedia. So you can edit and optimize them, but it makes it really much faster for fixing. And then if we were to go back and have a look at another one, you've got images and being able to fix them here. So in this case, these images, no alt text, no alt text. Same again. So you can go through these and write in your alt text yourself to describe what those images are. And when you're finished at the very bottom, then you can submit bulk fixing here, and it will just update the database for you. So it speeds up fixing the content you've already got. That's really important. The same then with things like tables and that, or this one here for all caps. So someone has put in a full sentence in capital letters. So we switch it to sentence case, and instantly more readable. So, and here as well, please read this importance notice carefully. We switch it to that. So you submit and both of them will be updated wherever they are, be in the quiz question database, your labels, assignment descriptions, and so on. So it will help fix your content in this way. So we have a set of reports, we have a set of fixing tools, and then we also have some sort of overview. So for example, at an institutional level, they can see how much it's being used, what features are being used and where they're being used, that kind of thing. And they can also get a full list then of courses. If we were to go and look at the different categories, how many courses are there?
And so, Mr. Henrik, so I guess with the tool from an open learning perspective, we would be able to get a report that let us know across the board with all of our courses that we offer online in Moodle where we stand in terms of accessibility as instructors for the university, so that we can have some kind of idea of, I don't know if it's percentage wise, but where we stand in terms of accessibility in our courses. We would be able to get such data.
Well, here it is, for example. Here you have, assuming you're still seeing that, yeah?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So here's a list of the 3 courses on this site that have been analyzed and how many errors they are of all the different types.
Right.
Or in this case, the pass rate for the different amounts of for the activities.
Right.
So this gives you, so if you have 100 courses or 1,000 courses, you can download a spreadsheet and then do business analysis, extra reporting and stuff that you might want. You'll know where you are. So it gives you a site-wide view on things.
Right.
But equally, these visualizations are not, this is only 3 courses that were reviewed on this site. This is showing the whole site as such. And here's a list of the checks across the whole site. So that's the key thing. You can either look at it as an admin, or a lecturer or a teacher sees their own course only.
So
Okay?
my other question is, let's say when we do, because we are, and I'm speaking it, we are going to be using this tool very, very, very soon. So with faculty, let's say for example they already have their course already set up in Moodle. And so we then start the Brickfield Education Lab tool after they would have set up. It will
Yep.
still go in and tell them what needs to be changed or what.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so basically, when a course um, hasn't been reviewed, the block will show that it hasn't been reviewed, and you can submit for analysis. So hold on, sorry. And in this case here, I have just scheduled this course to be analyzed. Okay. Or if I go back and say this one here, I don't have any, I can add the block in, my accessibility plus review. Course has not yet been scheduled, submit for analysis.
Analysis. And this is the steps that the faculty would do to actually add that block to their Moodle course so that they can analyze the accessibility of their Moodle course.
Yes.
I got you. Yeah. And we do have HR training director on the call as well. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about, because we also look at staff. And we do have a number of staff members that are considered frontline um, persons that all interact and have to interact with clients, whether they're internal or external. And I do understand that you also have some training modules for workplace accessibility. Can you just talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that?
So, yeah, no, absolutely. So we have 4 modules available, and this is an example of one of them, which is Accessibility Foundations. These are available to all of the staff at the institution. Teaching staff, support staff, IT staff, catering, marketing, HR, because accessibility and creating content, be it an email or a document or something online or a poster, accessibility counts in all of the cases. So this will take people through a general introduction to what accessibility is. But then you'll also have one about web accessibility, talking about structure, text, links, tables, images, so on. You also have then stuff for like, in this case, media, talking about images or video and audio. And laterally, you also then have Word documents. So you have documents like word processing, which is Google, and sorry, that's just me looking as an admin, Word documents or Google, and then you have the same with PowerPoints and presentations with Google Slides or Microsoft PowerPoint. So these are general ones that you'll be able to put all of your staff into. And some institutions are now working with their HR that any staff member who joins, academic or non-academic, they're learning about privacy, they're learning about health and safety, they're also learning about accessibility, because it's everyone needs to know.
And once we actually, and the thing that we are actioning trial, first of all, use of this tool, but it's not just for faculty. We can obviously see the value being spanned across the university, with all staff members being able to log into the Moodle to actually access those particular courses, of which HR can actually incorporate into their onboarding suite of things.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And your HR can then report on to see the completions, because when someone completes a course, they get a badge. So HR will be able to see who has completed the training, so they can record that centrally as well if they wish. They'll be able to export a list of people who have completed it. That's really important. Accessibility is a culture, which I know is coming across from the University of Leeds and stuff as well. It's about everyone being on that journey and moving towards that better place.
Yes. So is there anyone in here that has another question or comment? You can open up your mic.
Yeah.
Okay, what I would like to know is if any faculty on the call, you can type or open up your mic. Um, how do you feel about the student aspect of this product? What are your thoughts? Do you think that the students, can you see the students benefiting or accessing your class content just a little bit better, a little bit different? That's what I would like to know. What do you think about the product from the student as well as the instructor side? Now, we're not planning to say dive all in and change everything. And we would have discussed probably as a team, of a university team, trying to achieve one goal a semester, because we got to start small, trying to collectively action small steps towards a very inclusive environment. But I would really like to hear what you guys think about the student aspect of the tool, the faculty aspect of the tool. What are your thoughts, very quickly? Okay, Dr. Pinder says, good to know that badges can be attained. Very, very, very nice comment. Thank you. And
Okay, I have
Go
a
ahead.
question. I was trying to unmute when you originally asked. I just wanted to know if there's any consideration with the use of AI tools in accessibility and design, because I've noticed an uptick in trend of students taking notes using AI tools while instruction is going on. And I'm wondering if um, many of these technologies are also going to consider the use of AI in design.
Well, so part of the challenge is that AI requires context. Now, I use AI quite a bit, but I use it on my own content. I don't know any lecturer to give all of their content from their course to any of the big AI LLMs. I wonder why. Well, if you look at Claude, Claude has already agreed to pay out to the authors of all the books that it has stolen content from. I'm one of those authors, by the way. So it stole 2 of my books. So a lot of these AI systems built their whole business model on just taking other people's content. So you wouldn't necessarily want to be putting all your content in a private LLM or a private AI system, then that's slightly different. But it is down to students are going to use what they need. If you're not giving them transcription in the classroom, then they're going to get that text, because it might be. So here's the thing, right? When I was in university, let's go back 35 years ago, there was then and now a lot of students learned one thing in lectures: how to take notes fast, or who to copy good notes from. Dictation, that's in writing dictation and shorthand, wasn't on the curriculum, but they had to learn it because otherwise they didn't get the notes. And even nowadays, still in lectures, often if there isn't a text version of a lecture given, then they're basically having to do dictation themselves and learn shorthand. And they're not getting any grades for it. And my writing was terrible beforehand. Me writing fast was really, truly awful. So the fact that they're having to use that technology means you could be giving it to them. If you were doing hybrid, so you might be in the classroom face to face, but then if you're using Zoom, for anyone who isn't there, if you do hybrid, then there's a transcript available. They could take that notes from that. So I think you've got multiple options there. But for fixing content, even just an image description, you don't just need the image, you need all the content around it so it knows the context for it, which means you'd have to give over the content. I would double take on that.
Okay. I thank you so much. And I guess maybe that leads me to a more direct question. Is there any consideration for multi-sensory immersion like being able to do any sort of motion or touch for students that may have some sort of disability in terms of losing their hand-eye coordination.
Well, I'm not sure. So if they're using their hand-eye coordination, so for example, they might be able to verbally give verbal commands you to their computer to do things or through dictation. That isn't really with what we focus on. There is a lot of those. And just like people learning how to use the browser, learning how to use your computer properly was a good thing because they have lots of assistive technology built into them. So I would certainly be encouraging you to make sure that people know how to do that. So it's like on the phone saying, Siri, send an email to Cara saying, don't forget we need to send that presentation file to them. Send now. The computers can do this for people. So dealing with different barriers, there's usually options within technology. Not necessarily what we do, but devices have a lot of that built in.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Hines.
Yes, thank you again. I think we hover as professors between help and moral compulsion to guard against cheating. Um, I have opted to let go and let the next generation lead us. AI. It doesn't matter if we have modified our course descriptions or our course content. The students will be ahead of us just because they're digital citizens, and we probably are not. So I want to encourage us to move with the tide. One of the things that I've used effectively in our context, our classroom context, is to recognize the value to an adult student who has work and family, and maybe it's a sandwich person dealing with children and parents dealing with illnesses and life's upheavals, but must complete the course to get the degree or to get the raise in pay. So there's so many things that a student comes into the classroom with that it is actually a help. Where it comes to our moral compulsion for monitoring cheating, I ask the students to make an oral presentation of what is obviously an AI rendered assignment. And I found that there's some students who have rushed at that presentation, they've submitted it, they will probably get an A for the written work, but they can barely pronounce some of the words in their written assignment. And that tells me where they are and the level of their understanding. And I grade on that. I grade on your tonality, your tonal intelligence when you read an AI produced paper. If you do not understand it, you cannot present it properly. And if you present it properly, then you get the grade. So I think as professors, go with your students, be sure to be faithful to follow the lead of the school that encourages you to get your badges and get your course descriptions, because your students will be ahead of you. They will be ahead of you. And ask for a lot of oral presentations and have fun, please.
That's an
Right.
interesting
Consequent.
one.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, you go.
So, yeah. No, I would just say that we seem to be drifting into a topic for another day, which is AI and the ethical framework. But not to steal a march on the topic for another day. Um, I remember I'm of that age and stage in life. I remember where when electronic calculators first came in vogue, there
Yes.
was a serious condemnation Electronic calculators will make us idiots. The whole
Yes,
human race will
yes,
degrade back to the stage of chimpanzees.
absolutely.
That has apparently not happened.
Well,
Maybe, well, the
actually,
jury's, yes, sorry, go ahead,
so
sir.
so has it not? Do you not think that mental arithmetic is now severely gone, where people
That is,
who used to be able to
yes,
walk through a shop and buy seven
precise,
or eight items and know how much it was going to cost at the end? People don't know
precisely,
that anymore.
sir.
So
Welcome. You have just said something which I'm going to ask you, sir. Simple question. All right. I'm going to present to you two candidates. Let's say you're an employer, right? Let's say you are an employer who it's an engineering firm, for example. It's an engineering firm. You have two candidates. Yes.
yeah,
One candidate is a superb technical craftsman. He can craft paper-based engineering plans that are a work of art. Oh, they're so beautiful. His mental arithmetic is phenomenal. He does calculus in his head to tens of magnitude. He's a walking computer. Oh, talking about that. He doesn't like computers. Um, he wouldn't even, he says, I do all of my drawings by hand. I don't do CAD. I don't do computer assisted design. I'm a bit of a Luddite by nature. So sorry. Yeah. If it's not by hand, it's not worth it. Tell me, sir, which are the other candidate? His mental arithmetic is so-so. I mean, he's competent. He knows what he's doing. But to add three sets of numbers is a bit of a challenge. Um, his CAD is brilliant. He is thoroughly computer literate. Which of these two candidates will you employ, sir?
well, it
The
depends on the
mental
job.
arithmetic GD? Well, as I said,
It depends on the job. So, for
yeah,
example, I think people who can think and um, do that type of stuff in their mind are generally probably a little bit more creative. Not always, but generally are.
right.
And therefore, people, so I'd probably hire the person with a mental with the non-techie designer as a leader, and the other one then as the person who does on the computers collaborate with each other.
So you're
As
very clear, but in the
I'd
end,
hire both. Yeah.
yes, you see, look, what I mean to say is, in the end, this world is very product oriented. Yes. But that I mean simply this. What is our goal as trainers, educators, and so on and so forth?
So,
A professional who cannot use the appropriate tools is handicapped and cannot function.
okay,
If
can
I
I?
were, yeah, sorry, go ahead,
Yeah.
sir, go ahead. Mhm.
So this is actually a really good disability related query
Mm.
because someone who is dyslexic, their spelling is terrible.
Yes, for
Their
example.
ability to read things quickly is not great.
Mhm.
But yes, did you know that so dyslexic people make up 10% of the population, but dyslexic people make up 40% of self-made millionaires.
Whoa, okay. Whoa,
Just
I didn't know
just
that.
and they are people who will struggle to read all caps, read text sometime at all, but they think and their brain works in a different way. And because they're constantly fighting against barriers, whatever those reasons are, 40% of self made millionaires are dyslexic. So
Mm.
I'll let you read into that where it comes from. So, but one thing, it was going back to what the other person said earlier about people using AI to take notes, and this is the last thing I'll do before. Um, one of the products that we're releasing later this year, it'll be separate from the enterprise, but it's this one where basically an institution can have the teacher being able to dictate, but the student gets it in their hand on their phone. So as long as the teacher is has this turned on their on their laptop up at the front of the room or at a conference, then it's able to be seen here. And if they want to go into dark mode, and at the end of it, they can just download the transcript. So they haven't had to take dictation. They have it directly in their phone. So then this creates that sort of equity.
Beautiful.
That is downright brilliant. So you're demonstrating that you are using the tools of the 21st century, and more power to you, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we
Excellent. Excellent.
really need to embrace the thought that cheating is not always cheating. Cheating is not always as we have defined it. In my classroom, I set up the person who is, I know they know, with the person who must cheat. And it's my last line of their learning. So let them copy the correct thing for once, to punish someone who needs help is to disregard the disability space. And so I suit up my students. This one knows how, this one cannot. So cheat, if you want to call it cheat, if you want to call it cogging, whatever it is. Sometimes we're so hung up on the morality of a situation that we punish someone who needs that assistance.
Well, that's the thing. Someone with dyslexia needs reading assistance, needs help with that until they learn the technologies. So like it's built into Microsoft Edge that will read content to them. But here, that is what they get to download. They get literally the full text. No, so they can actually listen to the presentation. So everyone would benefit with having this for every lecture. They can listen to the presentation and they can take this and add in their own notes. So technology is there, and I think having your content in the most accessible way and your processes is going to be really key. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present today, and I hope that was useful for everyone.
Thank you so much, Gavin, and thanks for staying up late with us. I know that it's much later on your end than it is on ours. It's been fantastic, and we are really excited about the trial run that we're going to be doing with Brickfield, and hopefully, as I said earlier, we'll be able to integrate the platform into Moodle before the end of spring 2026. Mrs. Robinson, go ahead.
All right, sorry about that. I just wanted to say before you wrap up, Dr. Bethel, in the chat, I would have shared for everyone on this call the Bahamas government accessibility policy. And I think it's very good when we put things into perspective because it's not necessarily only about compliance, even though the Bahamas government is concerned about compliance. And we as a country may not necessarily have our own standards, but as you can see by that link, the Bahamas government is applying WCAG standards for everything that's digitally accessible within government entities as well as in education. So we have a benchmark. And as we close this session, I just want to say we celebrate more than just a session. And today alone, we celebrated a journey. Our department was definitely honored to take you around the world through the lens of digital accessibility and online learning, learning from voices and experiences spanning London, the United States, and Ireland, and India. So I just want to say thank you to all of you here. Thank you again to our presenter. And to look forward to tomorrow, our journey continues through space, time, and possibilities as we deepen our commitment to inclusive design, innovative practice, and meaningful access together. Dr. Carmichael spoke with us earlier today on the call, and he has a session, and I think you all should be reminded to join in that session. I think that session is on Wednesday afternoon, where he will be talking more about AI ethics, teaching with that in the classroom. So you may want to join that session as well. And together we will continue to grow, to learn, and strengthen accessibility, not only in our online environments, but across our entire campus. Dr. Bethel, thank you for allowing me to say my two Bs.
Thanks very much, Mrs. Robinson, and thank you for all of the work that you've done in organizing these sessions. Tomorrow, we're going to be focusing on Moodle 4.5. As I mentioned earlier, uh, we have been using an outdated version of Moodle that was no longer supported for updates or security. And so as of spring 2026, we will be transitioning to the updated version of Moodle. And that will go live on majority rule holiday, the 12th, Monday the 12th. So you'll notice that your interface will look completely different on the 13th when you return to class. I invite you to attend the sessions tomorrow because we will be going through all of the changes to the interface that you'll be encountering. And in particular, I'll be showing you how you can set up your gradebook in the new platform, because I know that the gradebook is one of the biggest headaches that people always have with their Moodle classes. Please note also, Office of University Relations the OTS, Office of Technology Services, has been sharing the notice of this upgrade and links to how-to videos for both students and faculty. So if you haven't done so yet, please go and check out that notice and look at some of the videos. It'll give you a great introduction to the new platform. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Please remember to complete the evaluation survey, that the link to which has been put into the chat. Thank you, Gavin and Kara. This has been a wonderful session, and it's been a fantastic day looking at accessibility in online and face-to-face learning. We encourage you to continue with us on this journey tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday for more exciting presentations. Go ahead, Professor Jean-Pierre.
Hi, Ed. Thank you again. At what time is this session tomorrow? Tomorrow we have student advisement. Is the session in the morning or after?
The introduction session is in the morning. The grade book session, I think, is at the grade book session, I think, is in the
2:10. The gradebook session is
afternoon.
at
Yeah,
2:10. Yes, it's
in the
in the
afternoon.
afternoon. And it
Exactly.
will be recorded. It will
It'll
be
be recorded.
recorded.
11 a.m. for the general introduction session, and the grade book session is at 2. But even between those, Mrs. Robinson will be going over some ways to create good course design using Moodle as well. So I would encourage you, if you're available. I know you guys will be with your students, but 11, 1, and 2 um, for the Moodle sessions, and then in the afternoon there'll be one on effective learning strategies.
And you can check your email. I think I would have sent the full schedule to your email at some point in time. It's a PDF file, so you can check. Just put my name in the search bar, or put training schedule in the search bar, and you should see the full schedule for the week, so that you can actually see what the times are.
Thank you.
For those of us who missed the registration period and just joined with that name today, how may we share our contact information with you?
Well, Dr. Bethel?
Go ahead.
Should I go ahead and try to register? Is
Yeah,
that
that would
still
be.
allowed?
Let me. I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
If you're having an issue, just give it a couple of minutes.
Okay.
I'm gonna go in now to make sure that the registration period is still available.
I thank you. I
Okay.
thank you. I
No
can
worries.
give it an hour. I'm heading on to another meeting.
Okay.
So, yeah, I
Great.
thank you so much. This has been awesome. I
Fantastic.
look forward to our collaboration.
Fantastic.
Bye bye now.
Bye-bye.
Sorry, quick question here. That last session, I'm in the evaluation. I'm on the evaluation webpage. Was that session the one with the Brickfield lab called
The one we just did?
yes.
That's a Brickfield session, correct.
All right, so it deals with Moodle. It has the word Moodle in there somewhere. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Okay, thank you. I just am checking to make sure I'm evaluating
Thanks
the
for,
correct session.
yeah,
Thank you for
thanks for
that.
checking. Awesome. Colleagues, thank you so much again for attending, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. If there are no further questions, I am going to log off now, and I will share the recording as soon as it is available on the YouTube channel. Thank you again. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.